Rod Stewart may live the fabulous life in Beverly Hills, but he's also one of the original rock and roll bad boys.
Piers Morgan is in the house. Not any house, he's in my house. What on earth is he doing here?
Can you believe he just turned 66 and became a father for the 8th time? Do you still think he's sexy?
Never you mind.
So here I am at Rod Stewart's remarkably palatial Beverly Hills mansion. And I'm told the only thing that's more impressive than the great man himself is what lies behind those doors. So let's go and find out, shall we? Rod, here we are in the expansive library of your Beverly Hills mansion. I suppose the obvious question as I look around the extraordinary art on the walls, the expensive book collection, the glittering statues is...
Are they paid for?
Well, A, that, because you're Scottish, and B, where did it all go wrong, Rod?
It's the famous George Best line.
I mean, how do you feel? I mean, honestly, when you come to this extraordinary house, given your background, given that you came from very little as a young guy, you've ended up here in the middle of Hollywood, having had this extraordinary career. What do you think when you sit here in this room? What do you think?
Well, there's not a day goes by where I don't get up and say thank you to somebody. You know, it's an incredible. And I've got this house and a couple of other houses quite like it. So it's phenomenal. You know, it's just my dream came true. When I went into the business, I thought, well, if I earn a couple of £100 the next couple of months, I'll be happy. But 40-odd years later,
America's been a great friend to you.
Oh man, as it really has. Yeah.
Tell me about your thoughts on America.
Well, as far as I'm going, they've been a very, very loyal crowd. You know, I've had my ups and downs with record sales, but as far as concert tickets go, it's been quite regular. You know,
how much time do you spend here?
Most of the time, I'm a tax exile. I left in 1975 from Great Britain, so I'm here for 6 months of the year.
And do you like it here?
I do. Yeah, I do. Most British people, unless they've spent some time here, don't seem to like it. They find it an unfriendly place, which I sort of understand. But most of my mates here are British. You know, I think there's more British people here than anywhere in the world outside the UK.
What do you miss, though, about back home?
I suppose I miss the British cynicism and the humour. I mean, I catch up with the football. I watch as much football as I can here. But my brothers still live there, my sister lives there. I miss the family side of it. But, you know, we go back and forwards probably 6-7 times a year.
I suppose the obvious place to start with you, Rod, as with all interviews with you, would be women.
Go on, then.
You've had a sort of lifetime's pursuit, really, of glamorous women. Would you plead guilty to that?
That's a very dangerous question. Yeah, I've enjoyed... you know, quite honestly, to this day, I don't quite see what women have ever seen in me.
Well, we're all baffled.
Yeah, I mean, me especially. I see myself in the morning when I get up. It's a shambles. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. You know, I don't boast about it like some others do. I've bedded a few, but I've never kept count.
I mean, can you remember the names of every woman that you've taken to bed?
No, absolutely impossible. No, and I wouldn't. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. I'm a gentleman.
Yeah, but do you feel guilty that you can't remember?
Well, I'm getting on in years now. You know, the ones that I've been in love with or I thought I've loved, I can remember.
What's the perfect Rod Stewart woman?
I'm married to her.
Obviously.
I say that, didn't I?
So a leggy blonde, basically.
Yeah, a leggy blonde with some intelligence and some warmth, who understands me, with some humour. And
I hate to accuse you of prejudice, but there is a pattern to your work with women. I mean, there don't seem to be many brunettes or particularly redheads.
Well, there's been that's another dangerous question on this very dangerous show. There's been a few, but it probably has been mostly blondes. Yeah.
Why blondes?
People ask me that, and all I can put it down to is my infatuation with Marilyn Monroe when I was younger, and, maybe Bridget Bardot. Because when I was a kid, pre-teens and going into teens, they were the two blonde idols, Bridget Bardot and Marilyn Monroe.
You have just turned 66 when this interview airs, and you're going to be a father again. I mean, good work, fella.
Yeah, it's good. It took a bit of time.
But how do you feel about being a dad again, Rob? I mean, I don't want to be difficult here, but when you're 84, your son will be 18. I think my maths are right on that.
You're absolutely right. I'm hoping that it's a boy and he's not going to be too difficult. Otherwise, I'll have to... Well, I consider myself a very fit 65-year-old. I'm just going to have to be a very fit 85-year-old.
Does it worry you, though, that potential age gap?
Nothing worries me. Do I look a worried man?
You don't look massively encumbered by stresses of life, I must say. You look content.
I am very content. I'm in a very, very good place, Piers.
You went through, as you hinted there, a very difficult time with this baby. Tell me about that.
This was the third time we tried it, and when it does go wrong, it's absolutely heartbreaking for both of us, but more so for Penny. So this was the third time. We had a wonderful English surgeon did it for us, and it's worked out. But it is funny, putting the sperm in the bottle and in the Ferrari and down the doctors. It knocks me out. That's the best part of doing it.
Do you have to drive the Ferrari in a certain way, at a certain speed? I mean, is there any regulations?
No. We have to keep the sperm in the bottle in the handbag on the driver's seat, on passenger's seat. It's tremendous. I shall miss doing that.
It was quite... it's been a difficult ride for both you and Penny. You said third time round.
Yeah.
How hard was it when you thought perhaps, it may never work?
I think we were more or less resigned to the fact that if it doesn't work, we've got one wonderful son with Alistair. And, I've been very fortunate in having, 8 children now, so I wouldn't have complained. But I really felt for her because she wanted a partner for Alistair, and she got it.
Where were you when you heard the good news?
I was at the Kremlin doing a show in Russia, Moscow, and Penny phoned me up and says, we've done it. And we both just burst into tears. I'm such a fairy when it comes to things like that. I just cried my eyes out, So I was in Moscow.
Pretty special moment there.
It was, yeah, it really was. I couldn't wait to get home and give her a big hug.
Are you a good dad, do you think?
Well, yeah. Should ask me kids that, maybe. I think I've become a good father. It's something that you don't learn at school. I don't think you do anyway. There's no books written on it, or there wasn't when I became a father for the first time. But, it's a craft that you improve on. I think I'm a pretty good dad now.
What have you learned that perhaps you didn't know when you were younger?
Is the fine line between spoiling a child and depriving has always been difficult for me because I've come from a working class background and now in wonderful wealth, so it's hard for me not to spoil them, and it's difficult. I find it very difficult. It's a grey area. So,
do you spoil them, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so.
And what about discipline? I mean, when your kids, they're getting on older themselves now and coming out of teens and stuff, some of them, when they misbehave, because they're your child and they've obviously got the same gene, and they get caught being naughty, it gets the media attention that perhaps they may feel they don't deserve. Like my kids sometimes, think, come on, Dad, what's it got to do with me? Why am I getting this? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that price of fame for your kids?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. It's fame they live very well. They're never short of anything. But on the other side of it, I know all of them, when they went to school, went through some embarrassing, terrible times, being mocked and things like that. But, as I said, they live comfortably. They've got, I give them an allowance, which is not too much, and I think they're fine.
You said that you've got 8 children. There was a period where you were reluctant to admit to one of them, Sarah, who was the girl that you gave up for adoption. But I think that's had a happy ending, hasn't it?
Well, happy ending.
Oh, happy-ish.
Well, we didn't... her parents just recently passed on. Obviously I'm the biological father, and I'm still here. So the relationship broke down somewhat, because she was a bit awkward and had a big chip on her shoulder, which I can't blame her. But in the last couple of years, we've become somewhat close, somewhat close. I still find it difficult to... when I email her to sign it Dad, because, I didn't see her grow up. I didn't change nappies. I didn't take her to school. I didn't help her do her homework. But, maybe I'll get around to that.
I mean, do you regret that? Do you feel guilty about it?
Yeah, I feel guilty about everything. I carry lots of guilt. But, we're making inroads. That's all I can tell you.
Coming up, Rod Stewart's wild nights of sex, drugs and rock and roll.
And I heard that your favourite thing, the pair of you, was you'd like to just occasionally get very drunk and then throw everything out of your hotel room. Yes, well, I'm going to ask you about this because, unless I'm mistaken, that woman, and I do use the word woman advisedly, bears a striking resemblance to a young Rod Stewart.
It certainly is. I found this painting in a shop in New York about 10 years ago, and it looks like me, exactly like me when I was 17.
It's identical.
It is, because in those days I had a straight nose. I broke my nose playing soccer. But so I thought, I've got to have this painting.
When your dad bought you your first guitar, it said that you actually would have preferred a nice train because you were so obsessed with model trains.
Still am.
I mean, you've got a set here, haven't you? Like an amazing room.
A set?
What would you, I don't know what you train weirdos call it. What do you call it?
Well, no, we're not weirdos. We're just, you know, you got to understand model. We'll get back to that question because it's a dangerous question.
Right.
And this is a dangerous show to be on.
You see, I told you.
Where were we? I've forgotten.
Model train sets. Did your dad buying you the first guitar?
Yeah. For some unknown reason, I had no musical inclination when I was at school. I used to avoid singing lessons and, singing class. But my dad just went out and bought me a guitar. I was 14 or 15. It was just about the time skiffle music was coming in. Just out the top of his head, being a Scotsman, he probably thought, there might be some money in this. But I did. I wanted a railway station for my model railway.
Where is the model railway here?
Never you mind.
See, no one's ever seen this, have they?
Well, it's been in magazines.
Yeah, but no one's ever sort of filmed it.
No, there's $250,000 a year to become a member of the Model Railroad Society of Beverly Hills.
Seriously?
No.
So we can't see it, though?
No. It's really private, but it's...
Well, what does it bring you, though? When you go in that room?
It's like any hobby, man. It's just brilliant. If I feel... I don't get stressed, but if I do get a little stressed, I go, it. I'm going upstairs, spend a couple of hours. I get permission from Penny's, or I disappear to the third floor and just work on my hobby.
Is it the size of this room?
It's the length of this house.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. Maybe I'll take you up there, as a private guest.
Thank you.
I'll have to phone the other members and see if it's okay.
How many trains do you have?
It's not a question of trains. People still watching this. Yes. It's a question of scale and detail. I've based my layout on the 1940s New York Central and Pennsylvania line. And it's I'll take you up there.
But you love it. It's a passion of yours.
I love it, man. I really do, and I take it everywhere with me.
And do you like being the driver or the station master?
No, don't take the piss now. I don't wear a little hat. No, it's a lovely hobby. It's like reading a book or painting a picture. It's three-dimensional, it's wonderful.
Can you remember your first performance?
Singing?
Yes. We'll come to the other one later.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can, like it was yesterday.
Talk to me about that experience.
Well, it was in Manchester, a place called the Twisted Wheel. I was 19, and it was in a band with Long John Baldry. He asked me to be the singer in the group and open up a show for him. And Long John, for those of you who don't know, was instrumental in bringing rhythm and blues to Great Britain. Bless him, he's gone now. But, I got up on stage and I was a bit nervous, so one of the guys gave me what he called a little pill, what they called a black bomber. I must have been awake for 3 days.
Illegal drugs?
And I didn't know it was illegal. He was a responsible grown-up. I was a mere lad of 19. And I must admit, I made one song last for about half an hour. They had to get hooked and get me off the stage.
Did you love that instant chemistry with an audience, the reaction that you got?
I didn't get any reaction at all. They were all busy drinking. It was what we call an all-nighter in those days. You're a bit too young to remember those days. But everybody was at the bar, so no one was really watching me. But that was the first show.
What was the moment when you thought, I want to be a rock star?
Oh, man. Probably when I saw Mick and the Stones over at Eel Pie Island. There's a place in Twickenham where they used to play, and there was only maybe 100 people in the audience, and I saw Mick jumping about, and I was having a beer, and I thought, I can do that.
So you're watching Mick Jagger, who's the hot rock star.
I was watching the Rolling Stones.
Okay, but essentially you're watching Jagger, because you're thinking, being the front man in a rock band, that's about as cool as life gets.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what did you hope being a rock star would bring you?
A sports car. That's all I wanted. You know, when I joined the band, I was earning about $60 a week, which back in those days, in the early 60s, was a lot of money. So I wanted a sports car so I could go out and pull the birds, the girls. That's what I wanted. And here we are.
And here you are with the Lamborghini and Ferrari and the birds.
Just the one.
The one bird there, the chief bird.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first band you played with Jeff Beck and these guys, amazing musicians. Ronnie Wood came on the scene. You had some amazingly talented people around you, but very quickly you emerged as a front man and then went solo and became this huge star. That transformation process, was there a point when you thought, I've got to do this on my own?
No, when I was with the Faces, I wanted to stay with the Faces, but I had a feeling that Mick wanted Woody and the Stones, you know, although he said face to face to me, he said I'd never steal Ronnie from the Stones. I knew that not to be true. So I think Ronnie was made to be a Rolling Stone. And maybe we'd taken the band as far as we could. And it was a wonderful 5 or 6 years of drunkenness and silliness. But
I mean, how good is that? See, for someone like me that's yearned to be a rock star and never really come any closer than judging a piano-playing pig and getting a few titters in the back of the crowd.
You do your job very well, mate.
Thank you, Rod.
You do.
Thank you. But, I mean, I would love to have walked out at a stadium with 80,000 women screaming and throwing their knickers at me.
Well,
You've had this for 40 years.
Yeah, not so many knickers nowadays, but... It's wonderful, you know. There's no drug like it. I mean, the adrenaline that comes and the love that comes back from a packed house. It really is remarkable. But the thing is, in the Faces days, you know, we really were very drunk.
How wild was it? Come on, talk me through a wild night with the Faces. Led by you and Mr. Wood.
Well, we'd used to drink and drug before the show. Not terribly, you know, but we used to drink a lot. Not too many drugs, they were too expensive. But we'd you know, me and Woody would dangle a Holiday Inn key in front of the girls in the front. He'd have room 197 on his key, and I'd have room 200. That's all you had to do, and they'd all be back at the hotel and knocking on the
And I heard
doors.
that your favourite thing, the pair of you, was you'd like to just occasionally get very drunk and then throw everything out of your hotel room. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
The entire room.
Yeah, especially with, you know, if there was a new member of the group, moving on, so that would be an initiation thing, you know. Go to his room, put a key in the door, not a stitch of furniture, no light bulbs, nothing. And it was even better if that particular person had pulled a girl, you know, and given her all the big one, you know.
But where would all this stuff go?
I don't know.
Out the window?
No, we'd put it in the elevator and send it down to the lobby. No, we never threw it out the window. We never did that. It was cheap. Send it down to the lobby.
Who were the wildest rockers you came up against? Was there anyone that matched you and Ronnie?
There was the Who. I mean, I think they were a little bit before us. You know, they were pretty wild. But just as we were becoming famous, hotels were beginning to know about us, and we used to book in as Fleetwood Mac. Which brings me round to the tour that I'm going to do with Stevie Nicks, which we'll talk about later. Sure. But we checked in as Fleetwood Mac and let them take the blame.
So basically you'd rack up a $20,000 bill and it would all go to Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, we're Fleetwood Mac, mate. Because they weren't particularly famous and neither were we, so no one knew the difference.
Next, I'll talk to Rod about the one woman who broke his heart.
It was a good 6 months of, you know, laying upstairs, looking at the ceiling in bed, couldn't get out of bed, depression.
Life really, I guess, changed forever in the 70s when you had the big hits. You look pretty much like you do now, actually, annoyingly. But when that happened, when it just exploded, what was that time like for you? Because that was stratospheric for you, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was #1 album and single, both sides of the Atlantic, and I don't think it had ever been done before. I think Susan Boyle's just done it again. But...
what do you think of that? What do you think of a reality star coming in?
Oh, it's wonderful, and she's Scottish, and she's humble, and she can sing. It's a wonderful piece of TV where you lot are sitting in the audience and you're just gobsmacked, you know. It's tremendous.
Some people say that those kind of talent shows they're not really producing proper stars. They haven't gone through the treading the boards that you have to do to justify being a star. What do you think of that?
No, I think that's bollocks. I think it's... I've seen too many friends of mine that have got amazing talent get lost and left behind. This is a tremendous vehicle for people that have got talent. I do think, you know, it helps to tread the boards a little bit and learn your craft. But, you know, if I'd have had the opportunity when I was a kid, I'd have taken it. I'd have to gone in the pub for a couple of hours, get a bit of Dutch courage.
When you watch Susan Boyle, she's Scottish, obviously, like you. I mean, could you imagine doing a duet with her, singing with her?
Yeah, I'd love to.
What do you think of her voice, technically?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful pitch. It's soulful. It's got every quality. By the way, I'm not Scottish. You've got to get this straight with the viewers. You know, my father was Scottish.
You pretend to be Scottish.
No, I don't pretend to be Scottish.
You've got the Scottish marching band here. You've got Celtic football players. You've got the tartan trousers. I mean, you're going a long way to try and pretend you're Scottish, Rod.
No, that everybody can hear, can you not, that I'm not Scottish. I'm proud of my Scottishness and my heritage, and, you know, Scotland is a spiritual home for me. So there.
You got a bit of a backlash in the 70s, which I guess always comes with huge fame. How did you deal with the first negativity that came your way?
Oh, another dangerous question. I can't stand them. This room's going to explode in a minute. I think in those days it hurt. You know, it doesn't anymore. It's war off a duck's back. But in those days, you mean, do you think I'm sexy era? It hurt. It did. It really did, you know, because I think...
Why did they go after you, do you think?
Oh, because, I mean, look at me, you know, I was pulling all the birds and the silly outfits and, you know, I wasn't what they considered to be a rock star.
I suppose the obvious question, I mean, do you think you're sexy?
No, we talked about that earlier. I see myself in the morning. I really don't know what it's all about. I swear to God. I think I've got a certain charm. What do you think, guys?
All the ladies are going thumbs up. Very disloyally, I might ask my staff. I mean, what is the secret? What's the Rod Stewart magic with women?
I don't know,
I've seen
mate.
women behave in the most ridiculous manner around you. It's like wobbly jelly.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say. It's because... You know, I'm not a standard good-looking guy. I'm not, you know, Brad Pitt. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think I've got... You know, I've been out with women that have been Playboy centre spreads, and, you know, and absolutely gorgeous features, but no sex appeal, you know. So maybe
What to you is sexy?
It's an inner thing. It's a look in the eye. It's almost a slight, and get me right here, a slight sluttiness. Just a touch of it. Get me right here. It's a dangerous answer, that was.
Yeah, it's a dangerous answer. Should be dangerous. I mean, what is a slight sluttiness?
You know, just the skirt a little bit too shorter than it should be, you know. A glimpse of stocking, maybe.
You've been married 3 times, always to blondes. We've discussed this as a pattern to your work. But your first wife, Alana, you weren't faithful to her, were you? Or were you?
No, I wasn't.
Do you regret that?
Of course I do. Yeah, I don't like to hurt anybody. I was a little spunky lad, you know. I shouldn't have got married.
I was going to say, I mean, we just
My
too
dad
young.
told me. I was 35 when I got married. He said, "You're too young to get married." I said, "What, Dad, 35? He said, "You're far too young. You haven't lived yet." He was right. Bless him. Thanks, Dad.
I mean, if you had your time again, what age would you get married, do you think?
I don't think you could put an age on it, you know. I think there's not a time. It's just when it feels right, when you've, you know, done all the shagging you want to do and it's time to grow up. I mean, I know mates of mine are in their 40s, they're still shagging about and not grown up. So I think when you decide that you can be loyal and faithful and committed, and this is it, like I have now, you know. But I was loyal and faithful to my second wife, Rachel. And didn't mess about.
And the irony there was, after years of being a naughty boy, actually with Rachel, she ended up leaving you, which was, I don't know, a very hurtful thing for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, very, very hurtful. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't have the tools to deal with it.
Why do you think it didn't work out when you look back on it?
She was too young. She was too young. My sister, when we got married, leant over to my brother when we were going down the aisle and said, "You know, she's going to leave him, don't you?" And
really?
My sister Mary, told my brother. And sure enough, she did.
Why did she think that?
I think because my sister Mary understands that women do a lot of growing between 21 and 30. you know, which Rachel probably has. You know, she's not the woman that I married 20 years ago.
Did it break your heart, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Bloody hell, did it.
Properly, you know? Like a kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, after all those years of probably you breaking women's hearts, whether deliberately or otherwise.
Karma gets you.
Did you feel that a bit? Did you feel, wow, this is what it feels like?
It was a good 6 months of, you know, laying upstairs, looking at the ceiling in bed, couldn't get out of bed, depression. Didn't drink for 6 months. That's how bad it was.
Did you not?
Didn't drink for 6 months.
You must have been terrible.
Terrible, exactly. Because I like a glass of wine of an evening. Just one or two, and that's it, you know.
So it was proper heartbreak?
Yeah.
How did you get over it?
Well, there's no way of getting over it. There's no way around it. There's no way through it. You know, I went to therapists, you know, and it just nothing works, you know.
Something works, though, because you came through it.
Time.
Did you believe that time's
Yeah, time.
You say you've learned lessons from that experience too. What were the lessons, do you think, for you as a guy, as a husband? You know, obviously now with Penny you're incredibly happy, but what were the lessons you had to learn from that not working, that second marriage?
Probably, you know, I'm a better listener now than I've ever been before. I listen more. And I say I love you a lot more than I used to.
Do you?
Yeah, I used to say it, but now I'm all over her like a dirty rag, Penny, every morning. I love you, darling. Like a little pussycat.
You haven't gone all soft, have you? Have you?
I have nothing wrong with being soft. You know?
You're in touch with your feminine side?
Yeah, I'm still butch, playing football Sunday.
So you're a butch football playing
butch
softie?
Footballer with a softie, absolutely right.
When we come back, Rod Stewart's rocky road to true love.
It was hard for her coming into this family with all the kids. They were wary. They didn't want Dad to get hurt again.
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson on Piers Morgan. CNN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
When I first met Rod, I realised that it wasn't going to be your regular relationship. I firmly believe that my dream was always to have a child. Didn't need anyone but me. To see Rod's flock made me want to have a family with him even more so.
Let me take you to the moment that you first saw Penny, who was an extraordinarily strikingly beautiful woman.
Yeah.
I have to congratulations. But the first moment you saw her, what did you think?
Well, it was at the Dorchester Hotel, and I literally had just broken up with Rachel. I mean, within the last 24 hours, it was in the newspapers. And I walked in, and there she was. And she was dancing, and she's a really extraordinary dancer, you know. She's 6'1" and in high heels, everything I wanted, you know. So we got to talking, and I said, you know, she knew who I was. She'd sent someone over to get my autograph. And I invited her down to Earl's Court, which is a place in London where we do concerts, to take a few photographs. You know, I had my eye on her.
That old trick, eh?
That old trick, yeah.
Come and take my picture, darling.
Come and take my picture, darling. But, you know, I kept my side of the street clean. I didn't see her for another 6 months. The bass player in my band said, she's too good for you, Rod. You're going to wait 6 months till your heartbreak's all finished, then I'll give you a phone number.
That was good advice.
Yeah.
So after 6 months, he gave you the number?
I phoned her up, and her boyfriend answered the phone. Or a moment, it was the answer phone. And I thought the guy, his name was Mick, I thought it was a woman. So I just phoned back, and she answered, and we made a date. As it was, she was breaking up with her boyfriend anyway, so I came to her rescue.
And how long was it before you realised you were in love with Penny?
It wasn't immediate. It's because I was still hurting a bit. You know, I didn't want anything to do with women. I just never going to get married again. Don't want nothing to do with it. You know, but I think after about 6 or 7 months, we began to fall in love.
Are you as happy now as you've ever been?
Yeah. Without a doubt.
What is it about Penny? How has she, I wouldn't say tamed the wild man, because you're not really like that, I don't think, and haven't been for a long time. But what was it about her that gave you contentment, do you think?
She's naughty. She's sort of naughty in a lovely schoolgirl way, if you know what I mean. And
I think I do, yeah.
You know what I mean. But apart from we have wonderful sex. She's just thoughtful.
You still can at your age.
Oh, yeah, don't you worry about that, mate. Well, she's very thoughtful and very loving and very caring. It was hard for her coming into this family with all the kids. They were wary. They didn't want Dad to get hurt again. But one by one, she sort of won them all over. And, you know, the girls come to her for advice now. So...
Do you think this is it? Do you think she's the one now that you will...
Beyond a doubt. Beyond a doubt.
Coming up, the moment when Rod Stewart's career nearly ended.
You're one of the world's great singers, and you've just been told if this goes wrong,
Yeah.
you may never sing again.
When Rod went to the doctors and had a scan and they discovered a small cancerous growth on his thyroid, the first thing Rod did was kept it to himself. The idea that if he survived, he might not be able to sing was just must have been the most scariest moment. I can't imagine.
It was thyroid cancer. I went for a regular checkup and, they said, well, Mr. Stewart, you better come back. That phone call, better come back. There's something going on.
When you got that call, what were you thinking?
I didn't even think it could be cancer. Not me, Rod Stewart. I'm fit, I work out, But sure enough, it was a little growth that they think they should cut out. And I was in and out of hospital in 24 hours. So when people say, oh, you battled cancer, I didn't. I was dead lucky.
But did you get a sense then of your own mortality for the first time?
Yeah.
Did you have to think to yourself, I could die here?
Yeah. I didn't when I went into the surgery. But afterwards, the surgeon told me how delicate the operation was. He said, if there had been an earthquake while I was operating on your throat, he said, one little slip and you wouldn't have spoken again. Because the nerve and the thyroid are so close together. So, yeah, it did bring me down to earth. I kept thinking, what am I going to do? I can't sing, So
what goes through us? I mean, you're one of the world's great singers, and you've just been told if this goes wrong, you may never sing again.
Some people would have been pleased.
Yeah, I can think of a few who say, hallelujah!
At last.
What was going through your mind, seriously?
I was frightened, really scared, and all sorts of thoughts were going through my mind, becoming a landscape gardener. I had no interest in gardens whatsoever.
A landscape gardener?
I thought, maybe I'll start a landscape gardening firm. That's mad. But, I had some singing coaches give me some advice, but in the end, it was getting the band together in the garage and just singing every day. 1 minute I could sing for maybe 2 lines of Maggie May, the next day 4 lines, then I could sing a verse, then the whole song.
And was there a moment when, like a eureka moment, when you knew you were back?
Yeah, exactly 6 months after the operation, 5-6 months after the operation.
And what was the moment?
Well, I could do an hour of singing. I could sing without being sore and hoarse, and that was it,
Was that the greatest relief you've ever experienced?
Certainly was, mate. Yeah, well, that's some nice relief. No, it was. It really was. It was wonderful. It brought me down to earth.
When your life was flashing before you in that period, which obviously I guess it does, if there was one moment of your entire life that you could relive again before you die, what would it be?
Outside of football?
You can include football, but no. For this audience,
it probably would be the day Maggie May became #1 in Great Britain. And I remember I was driving down Swiss Cottage, it's a place in London. I heard it on the radio. I knew we were going to get close to #1, but it was #1. And I turned the car around, went all the way back to my mum and dad's council house, and walked in proud, gave him a big hug. And my dad was nonplussed. He said, I'll put the kettle on and, make a cup of tea. But that was that stuck in my mind forever, the pride on their faces, because they never pushed me to do anything else. They didn't say, go and get a job, this rock and roll's never going to last. And they were always, stick at it, boy, stick at it. So, bless them.
Do you have great ambition left, or are you content now to keep rocking at the level that you are?
Well, the business has been very kind to me. The people out there have been kind. Ambition, I want to stay healthy, I want to be happy. I know it sounds, cheap and... Yeah, but
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm very scared of becoming unhealthy. I'm a bit paranoid about it.
Next, one of rock's original bad boys reinvents himself as an all-American crooner.
And never again I will see is you.
1982, Rod said he'd like to do an album of the kind of songs he heard as he was growing up. I said, let's just put it away And there'll come a time, maybe, when you can bring it out again. And sure enough,
I get no kick.
18 years later, that time came. The perfect person for it was Clive Davis.
So the idea of associating that voice
I get a kick.
with great standards, to me, was a wow.
Went on to become the biggest selling collected music series in history.
Mere alcohol.
You got the new album, The Best of the Great American Songbook,
Yes.
follow-up to your hugely successful album before, which brought you back into huge vogue in America. It's extraordinary that you've had this career resurgence on great American songs.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know, for a British boy from North London to be singing these songs of Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong is quite remarkable, you know.
When you had the idea, quite a gamble for you to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
were there people telling you don't do this?
Yeah, I first had the idea in the 80s, you know, but the record label at the time said, we think you're a rock singer, we don't want you to be anything else. But when I went to J Records, my current label, they had nothing but enthusiasm for it. And it was done as a labour of love. I thought, this sells 50,000, I've got off my chest, you know, and I've done it. So I think we're up to about 20 million now.
What are you expecting from this one? How long can this franchise continue? Because there's so many great songs potentially you could sing.
Well, this is it. This is the last. This is the best of the 5 albums. So we move on to other things now. I want to do maybe a blues album with my good mate Jeff Beck, or I may do a country album.
Really?
I'm supposed to do a Christmas album sometime. I keep getting letters through the post.
You could do a country album?
Yeah, man, I can sing that stuff. I'd love to. Country music now is, to me, seems more like rock and roll. I mean, there's a, you know, they've crossed over.
And there's a tour coming.
Yeah, myself and Stevie Nicks are going to go out on tour, and we'll do a few songs together. So,
Do you still get the same kick out of touring?
yeah.
Is it still the one thing that is more exciting than anything else?
Well, Celtic beating Rangers is pretty good, but yeah, it is, and it's very hard for me to explain to you how it is. It's to walk out and feel all that. As I said, well, it really is love coming back.
Take me out. I'm walking out with you through the tunnel onto the stage. It's 80,000 people. What's that feeling like as you do?
Well, I don't suffer nerves, as you know, like I used to. In fact, I was more nervous to do this interview than going in front of an audience to sing.
Because it's so dangerous.
Because it has been dangerous. But it's wonderful. It's anticipation, because you sort of know what you're going to get from the audience, but you're not sure whether they're going to react in the way you want them to. And sometimes when they don't react the way I want them to, that makes me really mess about.
And how do you know when you've got them? Even if it's a...
You can see it, mate. You can feel it. It's like an avalanche going over you.
Really?
It's tremendous, yeah.
And is that the greatest feeling?
Yeah,
I've
it
got to
is.
ask you, I mean, is that better than sex?
No, it's not that good, mate. Bloody. Of course, it's never going to be that good. No, but it is a wonderful feeling. It really is. And thank you, everybody out there that's put me in that position.
What would you like your epitaph to be?
I'm a celebrity, get me out of it.
Would you have a way that
I've
you'd like...
finally given up smoking.
Do you have a way that you'd like to be remembered, though?
Just as an honest guy, you know, loved his football and just a simple man, really. Got extremely lucky.
If your parents could be sitting here now watching this in these extraordinary surroundings, what would you think they would have thought?
Well, they saw me break through in the early 70s. I had a massive house in England, you know, that they'd be over the moon. You know,
They'd be proud of you as a man, do you think? For the way
absolutely.
you've evolved.
Yeah, they would, I'm sure. I mean, I think they would probably go around turning all the lights out, you know, to save electricity.
I mean, I haven't really touched on this. Obviously a delicate area, but you have got a little bit of a reputation, Rod, as being, well, you know, tighter than a couple of coats of paint. Is this true?
It's not true. It's not true. I'm very careful with money. I'm not very trusting of accountants and lawyers and the likes, you know, because, you know, you get guys like Madoff and, you know, they went to jail, and people have got turned over in this business, and I was turned over for considerable amounts of money, and it makes you not trusting. But, no, when it comes...
You've lost lots of money, too.
Yeah, not compared to some, but, you know, I got swindled out of it, you know, by not keeping an eye on the books, which I do now.
Do you know how much you're worth?
Sort of, But it all depends. It's inflation and current market trends.
Well, I've read anything from, 100 million to 500 million.
No, that's disgusting. We can't talk about that.
It's all that disgusting, Rod. Come on.
That's a pretty dangerous question, I must admit.
Is this the most dangerous interview you've ever...
This is bordering on it. It's bordering on it. I don't know. I really don't know. It's, I don't want to retire. That is one dread I have in life, of when this finally ends, like most people in entertainment.
Does it have to end, though? I mean, if you're your kind of singer, you're singing great standards now, do you ever have to end? Sinatra was still going in his 80s. Do you have to give... Is there a moment when your pride would say to you, enough?
No. I would imagine... if I don't know, I'd ever be fat, or if my hair fell out or something, I might...
What would be the worst thing for you, fat or bald?
The barnet going,
Bald?
In there. God, don't know how I'd cope with that. There's one thing me and the Queen have got in common, do you know what it is?
Go on.
We both had the same haircut for 40 years.
I mean, your hair is extraordinary. How do you keep it in such a magnificent splendour?
Well, it gets cut every couple of weeks. That's very important, to keep it really strong.
Or is it like a
That's
sort of
cut.
is it hedge trim?
It's hedge trim. Now, it's been a nice interview so far. I get it cut every couple of weeks, but I do look after it. I mean, I wash it every other day, put oils in it. When I'm not staying in, I just cover it in oil, keep it,
Oh, would you say you're vain or not?
Yeah, most men are. Come on, I saw you when you came in the house looking at yourself in the mirror. Giving it one of them.
I was admiring your gilt-edged antique mirror, actually.
No more than any other guy. No more than you, I don't think.
And last question, I've been saving this because it is a dangerous one, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to react to this, but I've got to ask
gay?
you. Well, it wasn't going to be that, but I mean, if it's something you want to tell me, Rob.
No.
No, it's actually whether you're still wearing women's underwear.
No, not today, I'm not. That was something I did when I was going out with a woman called Britt Eklund, and we were short.
Who was a movie star, of course.
Yeah, a wonderful movie star. She doesn't speak too highly of me anymore. But we were short of stage knickers, so she borrowed me her little lace ones.
For what period of time were you wearing women's underwear?
Just for one show, but I don't know, my press agent at the time let it slip. But I actually put them on back to front, because, I couldn't get me block and tackle in a pair of women's knickers. So I put them on back to front, and we got through the show.
Thank you, Rod.
Cheers, mate.
It's been a lot of fun. And it's been dangerous.
It's been explosive, in fact.